God, it's cold, isn't it? Well, actually, it's not that cold, is it, right now? But it has been very cold. Was it only last weekend? We were covered in snow, certainly here in London. Very, very cold it got at one point. You know, way better than -8 or something like that. But then it all heated up and the rain came down, and now there's not a trace of the snow, but we're hearing that this Arctic weather may return. We may be getting a chilly blast of very cold weather again very, very soon. Will it be a white Christmas? I don't know, but let's find out from someone who might. She's the weather presenter at Sky News, Jo Wheeler. Hi, Jo.
Yeah, you all right?
Yes, I'm very well. Thank you for joining us. So this Arctic blast, I guess the question is, I mean, people always sort of say, oh, will it be a white Christmas? Well, it's always white Christmas in the Scottish Highlands and places like that. But you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about London or Liverpool or Manchester, Newcastle, Bristol, all the other towns, the southern, more southerly places. With this impending Arctic blast, is there a chance of a white Christmas in any of these places?
Well, there's always the possibility of a white Christmas somewhere. Basically somewhere. And it very much depends. Obviously, we've had this quite extraordinarily long cold spell, which has seen very, very low temperatures. We've seen a smidgen of snow out of it. I mean, really, it's been very dry Arctic air. The wind flow has been coming from the north. So it's been coastal areas that have seen a few showers, and that's about it. And then we suddenly got this milder air come in just a few days ago, which could have been a very impactful event, bringing a spell of snow, sleet, freezing rain to certain parts of the country. And whenever we exchange a body of air for another body of air, yeah, it does tend to be quite dramatic, because it's going to incur that change. And what we have right at the moment is this cold air not too far away. It's threatening to come back all the time. And then we've got other things going on at the same time. So, yes, there's a risk of some cold spells ahead, but also some changeable weather. And, of course, we've had this massive storm in the States. This saw temperatures drop from about 2 degrees to -8 in a matter of hours. And with that, the winds picked up, blowing about 55 miles per hour. That is a significant wind chill when you're looking at temperatures of -8. And with that, also some snow. And that impacted on the jet stream, and that also will impact on us. So, yes, things are looking a little unsettled ahead. And, yes, wintry, but, you know, it is December. Well, it is winter.
I get that. What I was hearing, I was sort of trying to kind of set up an intriguing scenario where December the 25th could go white for us. But what I did hear was that we're more likely to get the colder air as of Boxing Day. Is that correct?
Yes, certainly. There looks like being a bit of a snap on Boxing Day, where we'll see a bit of cold air, and then things become milder again. But, you know, in the days ahead, and you have to understand, the weather is always, always a battle. You know, high pressure doesn't want to move, low pressure wants to move fast. Yeah, and the two of them will meet up, and one will say, no, I'm not going. Yeah, and the other one's trying to make its way in, and he says, never mind, I'll go a bit to the north or down to the south or whatever it may be. And so where you get these changeable conditions, it is just this magnificent battle of like cold air against milder air, and where it goes and what happens and all the rest of it. And when you get that kind of a forecast, when you know that these things are in conflict, then it becomes increasingly inaccurate the further ahead you look.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't really until, you know, a couple of days ago, well, shall I say, you know, a few days ago, the weather forecast for Christmas Day was either going to be a cold northerly with fairly light winds, a few snow showers, but basically a cold Arctic flow, or this low pressure system coming up from the south. And that really is what has happened. We've seen this rain coming up from the south. It's pushing northwards. It bumps into cold air. It gives a spell of snow, sleet, freezing rain, whatever. And then, you know, the milder air goes north, and then the cold air comes south. And that's really what we're looking at. I have to say, you know, the weather, it is a British obsession, and I can totally understand why. It is fascinating day on day, what happens, how it happens, why it happens. Yeah. But, you know, I wouldn't go too far ahead. At the moment, this cold spell that I read about in the newspapers, and I'm going, okay, yes, there is cold air there, but I'm not convinced yet that it's going to bring us anything spectacular. But then watch this space, things can change.
Indeed. So are you saying that probably are we going to get rain? Is it going to be a dreary, rainy day on Christmas Day?
I think there'll be some rain around. There'll be some showers around, and those showers quite sharp, possibly with some hail and thunder, mostly in the west. Yeah, everywhere else might get a fairly fine... It's hard to say. If I was going to sell it, if I was going to say, the silver lining is basically travelling shouldn't be too bad. If you've got to drive, if you're going to go and see relatives, you're not going to be battling across icy roads and all that kind of thing. What happens after that, you do have to watch the forecast, because when there is cold air close by, and it's always that change that causes the problem. It's when suddenly you've had milder conditions and then you get, a hard frost or ice on the roads. That's when, the gritters have kind of been out, and then it's like, hang on a second. Yeah, I'm sliding everywhere. So it's these rapid changes that do need to be watched over the next few days.
I'll tell you what you're saying about the British obsession with weather. You'd be surprised how far that obsession stretches. I lived in California for 10 years, and I was amazed. I went to I was in Los Angeles. I was amazed when I got there that they talk about the weather all the time. It's like, it was 42 here yesterday. It was only 40 the day before.
And they work in Fahrenheit all the time, which is very confusing for us.
They do, yeah. It's not for me, Joe. Not for people of a certain age. I still think in Fahrenheit, but...
do you?
Yeah. I have to convert all the time. But, even people who have the same weather all the time seem to talk about it all the time. But we have more reason to discuss it because, as you say, it never stops changing in this country.
And it varies north to south, east to west, because we've obviously got high ground down the spine of the country. So topologically, things change all the time anyway. But just going back to that American storm, we're talking about the Great Lakes, and those temperatures dropping. Those temperatures are going to drop as far south as Florida. They're likely to see temperatures of 4 degrees Celsius. Now, that's going to come as a nasty shock.
I once saw snow in LA once. So it does happen in the southern states, but the northern states, particularly around the Great Lakes, very, very cold indeed. And you can see that. Looking back over this year, meteorologically, Joe, what kind of a year has it been for Britain? I'm sensing it seemed to be quite dry. Am I right?
Yeah, it certainly was dry. And obviously we went into autumn very, very mild. And then this sudden cold snap came along. If you're going to ask me if that's extraordinary, I'd say not. Yeah, only because I've been following the weather for so many years, and I've seen so many different things happen. The heat waves have come and gone. The extensive rain has come and gone. It happens. It changes. It evens out.
It does. And then of course we had those very, very hot spells in the summer as well, didn't we?
I didn't notice those.
What do you mean?
I've got my daughter's cats here and they're not allowed out, so all doors, windows were sealed, and we just sat inside and just kind of... That's very hot.
It's probably a very good policy. So what, as a weather person, a weather professional, what's your favourite season?
Autumn. Always.
Why?
I love the colours. In Britain, I love the colours. I love the reds and the golds. I love the leaves dropping. I do quite like the dark nights and the dark mornings. For me, it's also reminiscent of starting a new school term, which for me was so exciting. New books and the smell of those new books, and a new pencil case and everything sorted. I love that. But I also lived abroad for 10 years or so, and spring was electric. I was down in Portugal, and in the spring, and it came quite early, and it was like somebody just switched the heat on. Yeah. And then the colour of the flowers was just vibrant. I mean, the purples, the pinks, the blues, just amazing. So, yes, I have two different favourite seasons, different places in the world, really.
I suppose autumn is meteorologically fascinating, the big change from the summer to the winter.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And of course, just yesterday, it was the shortest day.
It was, yeah.
And so we kind of say, okay, well, that's it. That's, the least amount of daylight we're ever going to see. for this year, you know, and now the day's going to get longer. And that as a mindset is quite extraordinary, particularly occurring before Christmas. There's that positivity. And, you know something, when we have the Christmas tree, and now obviously we hang baubles and put lights and all that kind of thing, but they were originally hung with fruits and various things as tributes to the gods, to make the sun come back and to make the soil fertile. It was very pagan.
But it never worked in Britain because the sun never seems to come back. Joe, very happy Christmas to you. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much. That was Joe Wheeler, weather presenter at Sky News.